Hey guys, Tammy here. And in this video, I want to talk to you about the first thing that impacts your credibility in court. Now, I talk a lot about credibility in front of the judges and in the courtroom, but we don't always think about that very first thing that has that type of impact on your credibility. That is your appearance and also the way you present, the way you conduct yourself, the way you follow the court procedures or don't. So, in one of my previous videos, I talked about this. I talked about going in and observing your judge in your courtroom ahead of time, which is a really great thing to do. If you like these videos, please don't forget to hit like on it so that you get notified as new videos come out about the various topics. So, I've talked about dress and how you need to be businesslike, how you need to present like you're a lawyer, not like you're somebody coming in from a day of surfing at the beach, right? You want to be coming in your suit or in your best attire, and not anything too revealing or provocative for you ladies. We want to show respect to the court. You also want to observe all the different rules about who's speaking when and all that kind of thing. One of the things that we don't talk about as much is paying attention to your body language. And I find that this really gets people into trouble. We have had several instances where a client rolled their eyes in court when the other parent was talking or when the judge was talking. And I've actually had judges that have stopped and said, "Hey, I saw what you just did, and I don't like that." And I've actually seen judges rule against parties for those types of little things because it gives the judge an overall sense of how seriously you're taking this issue and whether you're trying to work to solve the problems or whether you're just feeling like, oh, the other side's ridiculous and it's all their fault. The court's big on us taking responsibility. And so our body language becomes a huge piece of it. And if you're being accused by the other side of being, unstable or being crazy or being, any of those types of things, then your body language and your presentation and your dress and all of those things are going to be some of the key points that the judges is looking at for your credibility. Now, in our post-COVID age, a lot of the courts have options to appear remotely via video. And so it's kind of funny because I think on video, sometimes we feel like, oh, we're behind this protected screen. And so nobody can see what we're doing as much. And actually, my experience is when you're in the courtroom and people are on video, you actually have a very close up of just their face. Whereas normally you'd be a few feet away from the judge and they would kind of be seeing your whole body in the courtroom. On video, they're usually just seeing this upper part. And so your eye rolls or your flinches or your sighs or any of those things are going to be even more magnified on video than they are if you're standing in the courtroom. So don't forget that if you are appearing by video, this is still really, really important. One of the other things that happens is we don't always know court procedures. And this is a little complicated because for a normal person that hasn't really dealt with court stuff that much, you don't really have any frame of reference of knowing these things. And it's not like there's one standard place where we can go look all this up. There really, is in some ways, but not in others. So I'll explain what I mean by that. In each state, you have different laws, right? Now, we all have heard best interest of the child, and we know that that's kind of an overarching law in every state. But that best interest of the child does vary slightly state to state. So the first thing that you have to understand is that the family law in your state is specific to your state. So we have a family law code in California, We have family law code in Arizona. We have family law code in Colorado. We have family law code in Florida, right? Wherever you are, there is a family law code for your state. Those laws apply throughout the state. The law is the same throughout the state. And I know here in California, that's kind of created a situation where attorneys can, represent clients in other counties that we didn't do as much before because we can appear remotely via video for a lot of things, like I said, in our post-COVID environment. But they can do that across counties because the law is the same in every state. But what isn't the same is the procedures, okay? And I'm going to explain some of this to you. So there are procedures that are the same across the state, but there are also additional local procedures. And so you need to be aware of both, and you need to understand both. For instance, if you're filing a motion, and in California, we call that a request for order. Some jurisdictions call it an OSC, an order to show cause. Some places just call it a motion. If you're going to file a motion, there are timelines on when the person has to be served by, on how the hearings are set. Some jurisdictions don't set hearings until the parties go back and actually ask for it once everybody's ready. In California, they automatically put one on calendar. So understanding those different little procedural variances, and also you have timelines for when you have to respond by. So if you receive paperwork where your ex filed a motion, you have to have your response in within so many days, usually, of that hearing. And again, that varies in every state. And so it's real important that you be aware of those timelines, especially if you're self-representing. And honestly, even if you have an attorney, because what you have to understand about your attorney is if their deadline is, like in California, a response to a motion is due 9 court days before the hearing. Well, that doesn't include holidays, so you have to take that into account. And if your response is due 9 court days before, your attorney needs time to prepare it beforehand. And so you're going to want to start at least, a week or two, preferably before that deadline, making sure that you're getting all of the information to the attorney so that they have enough time to get it done and filed so they're not scrambling at the last minute. And so understanding those deadlines is important. And you can go out and look this stuff up. You can Google, deadlines, timelines for motions in, Alabama or wherever you are. You can go out and Google those things and look. And like I said, even if you have an attorney, understanding those things so that you know by when to get the information to them. And it can't be on the very last day, because that's going to result in a late filing. And so if you are going to utilize an attorney, for goodness sake, let's do it right? And get our money's worth. And if you're doing it self-represented, then it's better to be, prepared in advance and try to submit that earlier rather than later. They also have local court procedures. So these local procedures will tell you things like, how the hearings are set in that particular jurisdiction. It'll tell you whether you can file something electronically, whether it has to be brought down to the court. If you have exhibits, it'll tell you, the timelines for submitting those. It'll tell you the maximum amount of papers that can be attached to specific documents. So there's all kinds of things also in the local rules, which you can usually find on your county's website. So these are kind of parts of credibility and presentation to the court that especially somebody who's self-represented doesn't always think of. And so this is the part that if you have more time than money to spend on this, you need to sit down and do the research and educate yourself on these various things so that you can present your case effectively. Because if your things aren't getting in timely, guess what? Your judge may or may not read them. They may or may not have time to review them depending on what their timing is for how they review in preparation for their cases for court. One other little tip I want to give you, especially if you're self-represented, have extra copies of things with you. A lot of times self-represented people don't think of that, But, everybody makes mistakes, and sometimes there's glitches and a document doesn't make it to the system, or, the judge doesn't have it in the file for whatever reason, or opposing counsel says, well, I never got that document. And so you always want to have an extra copy or two with you so that you're ready, Johnny on the spot. If somebody says, oh, I don't think I have my copy of that, or I can't find my copy of that, no problem. I have an extra one right here. And so the court will let you provide that if you have it with you. And so in addition to your appearance and all of those things and your demeanor and not talking over the other person, waiting your turn, understanding that whoever filed the motion goes first, the other person goes second. That's just the normal standard procedure. And so don't let things like that upset you, but sit down and look up your state's rules, your state code, and your local rules so that you're educating yourself so that you can either represent yourself effectively or you can help your attorney help you so that you're getting the best possible result in your case. If you'd like more help with things like this, you can always go to my website, divorceuniversityonline.com/VIP-coaching. And there's a button on there where you can book a free consult to learn more about my coaching services to be able to help you. Like I said, I have clients, some have attorneys, some don't. It just depends on what you're looking for support in, but I'd love to talk to you and find out how I might be able to help you. Again, if you like this video, don't forget to hit like so you get notified as new videos come out. Hit like on this video and subscribe so you get notified as new videos come out, and I'll see you next time.